What is up, guys? It is Styx here, and today I'm going over Xuan Wei, or Xuan Wei. However it's meant to be pronounced, let me know in the comments down below. I'm pretty sure it's something along those lines. Either way, we are going over him today. He was the most requested character that is left. The only one after him is Finala, unless someone new comes out before that guide. And he is an arc character who is offensive and uses martial arts. He will use many of the, if you are familiar with any Murim, Wuxia, whatever, stuff like that, then if you are familiar with fist move based characters in those materials, his abilities are very much like that in terms of aesthetic, which makes me really like him. His visuals are also super cool, in my opinion. In terms of the actual strength of his abilities, let's start with his passive. Beastly Aftermath. When Xuan Wei's abilities hit combatants, they inflict a stack of Aftermath that lasts for 10 seconds and stacks up to 3 times. While having Aftermath, final blows generate Aftermath Explosion, dealing an escalating amount of damage based on the number of stacks to all combatants within a 5-meter radius. So basically, you hit an enemy with a bunch of these things, and then they die, they blow up. It deals extra damage to everything around them. This does kind of set you up a lot with the philosophy of his kit, which by my understanding is pulling enemies together into groups and then just absolutely going ham on all of them. This plays extremely well into his S1, his signature one. Xuan Wei activates his left gauntlet to shoot an arc tether up to 25 meters forward. Arc hook then holds hit targets in place and confines them for 4 seconds. Targets who are immune to control and displacement effects are not pulled by the tether, but instead take 3 instances of a decent amount of arc damage and are inflicted with 3 stacks of Aftermath for 10 seconds. This is very nice in his kit for setting stuff up if you want to start playing in with his S2, which is Fist of the Warpath. Xuan Wei activates his right gauntlet to launch a powerful punch, charging up to 13 meters forward. This punch inflicts knockback on combatants in front of Xuan Wei, dealing a bit of arc damage, and infuses up to 3 hit combatants with arc energy. When combatants infused with arc energy are hit again, or they land, they trigger an arc explosion that deals another decent amount of arc damage to combatants in a 6-meter radius. Hitting a combatant that is immune to knockback instantly triggers the arc explosion. That way it doesn't do nothing on boss enemies. This of course counts as a mobility because you are able to charge forward with it, and so there is that bit of utility there, as well as the general aspect of crowd control, moving enemies around and dealing damage. His super is Juggernaut's Dominance. It's on the lower end of the super cooldowns, and by my understanding, it's actually very effective. Xuan Wei activates both of his gauntlets in order to embody a divine beast, dealing a good amount of damage to combatants within a radius on cast, and entering a super state. In this super state, Xuan Wei can attack combatants with a 3-part claw strike. It's a combo, basically. The first 2 deal good amounts of arc damage, and then the third deals a chunkier amount of arc damage. In addition to this, you are encouraged to attack the same target multiple times. Your damage will increase by 10% for each strike, up to, at 8 strikes, 80%. Then while in super, Xuan Wei gains 10% movement speed and a high damage resistance. For his relic trait 1, we have what is most likely going to be what I build a lot of this stuff keeping in mind. So, Mighty Instinct. Anytime Xuan Wei uses one of his abilities, he gains a stack of Mighty Instinct that lasts for 5 seconds. This is a very nice buff on himself. It gives a 40% damage resistance, and when the effect expires, Xuan Wei recovers health equal to something around 10% of the total damage dealt while Mighty Instinct was active. It also stacks up to 3 times. So when one stack expires, the next stack's duration will begin. What this means is you can compound them. So let's say I use one ability to throw the hook out and I'm pulling stuff in, and then I use the Fist of the Warpath and now I'm attacking. Well, I don't have this issue where like some characters, you don't want to combo their abilities too tightly. Like I know with Ning, there's certain setups where he doesn't really get a benefit from just continuously stacking his stuff aside from the intrinsic benefit of the combo. So that is something pretty nice that this takes that into account and stacks the buffs up, but also when your buff expires, it just moves on to the next stack instead of completely going away with it. For Relic Trait 2, we have Perilous Pull. Whenever his tether hits a combatant, it fires arc currents at up to 4 combatants within a 10-meter radius behind them. Xuan Wei then constricts the arc currents to pull them toward the primary target. This does exactly what it says. It's very nice. It's just more crowd control, basically. Mighty Recall. When combatants inflicted with Xuan Wei's own Aftermath are defeated, Mighty Tether's charge time is reduced by 1 second. So you take an ability that already has a 12-second cooldown, He has another ability that has a 17-second cooldown, a little bit longer, and a fast charging super. And now his lowest cooldown, its charge time is reduced by 1 second for every Aftermath combatant defeated. You're going to get this tether a lot, trust me. It is very nice, it'll work really well, especially with the build we're going for. For his weapon mastery, Thunderous Reveal. When Xuan Wei hits combatants inflicted with his own Aftermath using weapons, it consumes 1 stack of Aftermath to trigger an instance of Aftermath Explosion. Doing so deals additional arc damage equal to 10% of that instance of weapons damage. This effect can trigger once every 0.4 seconds. For levels 2 and 3, the weapon damage bonus is increased, and then at level 4, the explosion deals extra damage per combatant it hits, up to 45%, 15% per combatant, so up to 3 combatants at a time. And then at level 5, the weapon damage bonus is increased by a fair bit. All in all, his abilities are really solid, and they do come around to make a pretty fun playstyle in my opinion. I think he's really cool, and like most characters in this game, like all characters in this game, honestly, you can do pretty much any content you want with him. Now for his talents, I've luckily gotten up to talent 4 on him. So for talent 1, we have Boundless Impact. Fist of the Warpath's maximum number of charges is increased to 2. Super amazing. This is great for keeping up Mighty Instinct as well as continuously using his abilities, which will also play into one of our artifacts. His talent 2, Blade's Edge. When Thunderous Reveal hits, trigger Aftermath Explosion, they restore extra health. Super nice. This will combine with Mighty Instinct in order to up the healing on us. Talent 3, Fight Forever. Fist of the Warpath's charge time is reduced to 15 seconds. You would never guess, but more ability uptime is always great. Then at talent 4, each Juggernaut's dominance attack consumes 40% less super energy. Super solid for just keeping that up, because that's what most of you, if you've ever paid attention when you're using a super, especially a roaming super, most of your energy is lost on the actual attacks each time you attack with it. So reducing that by 40% means that your super is going to last a good bit longer. At talent 5, Fist of the Warpath deals an additional 15% damage. Pretty nice. And then at talent 6, Fist of the Warpath grants Warpath's Momentum. Warpath's Momentum causes the next weapon hit to infuse the combatant with arc energy and inflict knockback. When the combatant collides with something or falls to the ground, it triggers an explosion, dealing damage to combatants within a 6-meter radius. On its own, this is not a huge, crazy effect, but when you take into account that this is also on top of all of the other ways you can do AoE stuff, this is pretty nice in my opinion. If you're enjoying this video, then subscribe and watch some of my other stuff. I've got a full playlist on character builds for almost every Destiny Rising character, and a bunch for Destiny 2 as well. For the artifacts, we actually have a little bit of variance here. I think Unrelenting Subgravity, like most characters, is going to be really nice, but Xuan Wei does have a bit of a caveat here, which is that because Mighty Instinct exists, even though Unrelenting Subgravity is really easy to proc, so is his Mighty Instinct. And damage resistance only works in the sense that it is diminishing returns. So you're not going to, by my understanding, get a flat 64% damage reduction from stacking Unrelenting Gravity with Mighty Instinct and then combining that with something like Unrelenting Evolution, in which case Unrelenting Subgravity will help, but it may not help as much as the numbers indicate. So keep that in mind. I think something that could also be pretty good, especially if you've got like an exotic of this and don't have an exotic of another, is Ring of Abundance to increase the potency of healing and overshields received. By my understanding, this should work on all of his healing abilities. It works on healing from other allies as well in team play, all that kind of stuff. Helhest is really popular right now. This will work for that. So this could work in that sense. Another really good one is Resolute Conjunction, which just has you take less damage from sources within 15 meters. I don't think I had any decent copies of it at the moment, but another one that could be pretty decent is Chiaroscuro, but he does have a little bit of healing for himself here and there, so it might not really come up too much, if I'm being honest. I think his best in slot for slot 2 is almost assuredly Unrelenting Evolution. Every time you get Mighty Instinct, it's going to give you a huge damage resistance effect, and that damage resistance effect falls off separately. So this means that even when Mighty Instinct is gone, you are going to still have Unrelenting Evolution, granting you those effects. In addition, if you're also running Unrelenting Subgravity, Unrelenting Evolution will proc every time you proc Unrelenting Subgravity and jump in the air as well. So you're really just going back and forth and maintaining as much of a damage resistance as possible with this setup. Another pretty decent option here, similar idea to Ring of Abundance, is Ring of Conversion. This will cause the overflow healing from your Mighty Instinct and from your talents to give you an extra, to give you overshield. This only applies though to your own abilities. So once you are full health and you are healing yourself, you will get these effects. I would personally still say that Unrelenting Evolution is the best in slot here though. For his third slot, I'm really liking Inverted Fury on him, just because the extra weapon damage bonus while shielded, it fits really well with building into such high damage resist, and it makes it so that it benefits your weapons a lot because a lot of your damage is going to be coming directly from weapons. In similar lines with that, we have Bellicose Planetesimal in the fourth slot. Whenever you cast a signature ability, you get a significant weapon damage bonus for 6 seconds. Even at really low talent investment that you can just get from randomly pulling, his talent 1 gives you 2 charges of one of his abilities. His other ability is on a 12-second cooldown and loses 1 second of its cooldown every time you get a kill on an enemy that you put your passive on, which is extremely common. So you're going to have really, really good ability uptime, especially during a boss phase or when you're trying to nuke something, which is when Bellicose Planetesimal comes in handy the most. I really think your uptime here is going to be super nice. Speaking of this, for substats, I'm going to recommend Weapon Enhancement is really good. I recommend melee damage resistance over range damage resistance. If you're running Ring of Conversion, Overshield bonus can be good. These classics, Signature Boost, Ability Strength, Super Boost are all really good. Recovery Boost is okay, but you have your own healing as well. Shield Boost is really nice, as is Elemental Resistance. And then Defense Boost, of course, just grants a standard damage resistance. For his Light Linked Companions, I recommend going with Kabr for the increased arc damage, just flat number, and then also going with Ning Fei so that your final blows, because that's what you're building around a lot here, is getting those final blows, increase your arc damage by however much percent per 6 seconds. This will make it so that when both of these are combined, you're getting a solid like 10 or so percent boost to your damage. It's really nice. Another decent option could be Jolder if you don't have Ning Fei. Or if you have a high investment at all, like if she's like T6 or something, then I could see the 20% adding an extra second to buffs applied by your abilities would be really good too, on a tall. For his weapons, as I mentioned before, I think Jotun edges out more from his damage from his weapon mastery. So assuming you're willing to invest in it, Jotun should be really good. If you do not have such a thing or you don't want to use it, then I recommend the IST Prantha Annihilation. And I would prefer Ensured Yields because it doesn't have as much of a kill requirement. If you're looking for an exotic, the Octant Riot Disperser seems to be the best pick here. But if you're looking for a mythic option, you want the Eternal Retribution. From what I can tell, the most preferred perks on it are Dual Loader and Karmic Reward. I personally am using Wound Counter just because that's the role I've got, and that also does really well in the second slot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you watched up to this point, then comment down below, Pumpkin does martial arts. Consider watching the video that's popping up on your screen right now, and thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.